The Himalayan kingdom of Nepal is famous for its beautiful mountains and ancient temples. This remote Hindu monarchy has only been exposed to the modern world since the early 1950s. In 1951, King Tribhuvan opened the country's borders to the world. With this act came not only increased trade and diplomatic relations, but also a booming tourist industry. Currently, 160,000 tourists visit Nepal annually. Many tourists come to Nepal to trek through the world's highest mountains. Most tourists, however, stay in the capital city Kathmandu, where they can shop for Tibetan carpets and visit the many ancient religious sites that cover the fertile Kathmandu Valley. The World College West World Study Program offers students a different approach to Nepal. Students have the opportunity to see the country much more intimately than tourists do. While in Kathmandu, students live with Nepali families and take classes in Nepali language, history, and culture. Intercultural research methods is also a class requirement which teaches students the methods of carrying out research projects in an intercultural setting. By gaining an understanding of another culture, the students acquire a more global perspective and in turn gain a deeper understanding of their own culture.
Living with a Tibetan family gave me a chance to experience a unique aspect of Nepal. Tibetans are a minority in Nepal, and they came there as refugees after China occupied Tibet in 1950. Living with a family helped me really understand the depth of their culture and religious beliefs. Within the first week that I was there, I didn't feel comfortable. It took a little while. It started to change mostly through playing with my little sister. It really made me feel more at ease being able to connect with the kids. I learned a lot from my family. It would always take them more time to teach me something than to simply do it themselves, but they were more than happy to share everything. You know, to share their knowledge and to share their ways of doing things. And there's a lot of learning and a lot of fun that really comes from that type of experience.
Occasionally, adapting to the many differences of such a foreign culture can be frustrating. The program provides the necessary support and structure to assist students during these transitions.
And when I first got there, the first 3 days, I was just totally overwhelmed. Really overwhelmed. I mean, the noise. I remember feeling like every single sense was being assaulted in a way. I mean, the tastes were unfamiliar, the smells were unfamiliar, the sights, the sounds were unfamiliar, textures were unfamiliar. That's it. And there's a way when it's unfamiliar and you don't know your way around it yet, or you're not familiar with the culture, that it's just kind of immobilizing.
The class has taught me a lot about the history of Nepal and how to go about my research. But I think the most valuable part for me was the experience of learning and being able to watch and participate in rituals and ceremonies with my family.
The Nepal World Study Program is divided into two main parts, the urban stay and the rural stay. All of the experiences during the first half of the program contribute to the students' understanding of the people and culture of Nepal. This foundation prepares students for their 2-month stay in rural villages. The World College West program is unique in that it provides the opportunity for students to live with families in rural Nepal. The village stay is challenging, but often is a very rewarding part of the program. Village families live a much simpler way of life, less affected by the modern world. Most rural Nepali villages are as they were centuries ago. When students live and work with families, they are able to learn about the traditional technologies of rural Nepal.
So it was really enjoyable doing things in the village because I would go around a lot, especially with my sister, and I'd help her with all the different chores. It was neat to be able to take part in doing these daily tasks with them, and it really made it a special relationship between me and my sister. I think this was really valuable. I think one of the most valuable things to me was the relationship I had with my family. At night we would come home, everybody always comes home by dinner time. The family wouldn't think of not eating together, and we all would eat together. All the children and the grandmother, all of us would sit together in the evenings like 3 or 4 generations, and just share stories and laugh and sing and dance, and there's not TVs and things, so people really spend time together. I think that process of stepping outside of all of the things that you're used to and going to a totally alien environment just really makes a person understand so much more about themselves and the way they interact with the rest of the world.
It is hard for any part of the world to be completely ignorant of the other people. And the knowledge of the world, the knowledge of how the world is, the world outside, outside of their own country. So for people from the United States, I think it is important to see, to widen their other view of the world. It is important for them to have the knowledge of how the world, the outside is, how the developing, the major part of the world is living. But once they begin to live in the family, when they go to the family, they begin to communicate, they begin to understand each other. And the families are always supportive, they try to help, they try to understand, they try to teach them. And so these kind of, and at the same time the families are curious about their behavior. So this give and take takes place. Then slightly the relation gets built up, and then they feel much more comfortable. Once they begin to communicate, once they begin to understand each other, then they really, this is my impression, they really feel attached.
I think my main juice of energy is Amma, support-wise. She picks me up, she takes me, to make sure I'm in the right place, doing the right thing. She'll sit there and talk to me and share with me, and it's sort of, I don't know, we've just gotten really close. I feel the most interaction and beneficial relationship here is with her, really.
The best part of the program was being introduced to my family, to be given the opportunity to live with a Tibetan family who took me in full-heartedly, it is the ultimate souvenir. Once you go and you travel and you live with family and connect on that kind of a level, there's no point in bringing back anything else, It was the best thing that happened to me in Nepal, and may have been the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
I think that staying with a family is an absolutely integral part of the program. If you didn't stay with a family, your whole experience would be different. That's where you start to get to this level with people where we start to form friendship and affection. And if you can't get to that point, there's something basic that's been lost, And the program sets it up so that you can get to that point, and people do. I think the program absolutely changed my perspective. At least I hope I did. I'd be really worried if I could go to Nepal for 6 months and come back totally unchanged. I think the biggest thing that it did for me is to really make me see things in terms of individuals, or in terms of human beings. You don't go there and really live with people and form affections and bonds and be able to come back and distance yourself from them. It really does strip away the them and us kind of ideology. And I didn't come back with any great answers, or I don't have the answer for world hunger or for the right kinds of development. But I do have a whole lot better sense about what Nepal is and what the people there do. But I think just in terms of an individual, there's just an incredible richness that comes about from having been in another country and really seeing people. You see a lot of differences, but there's a point where things just cut through. It's people to people at a certain point. I came back feeling a whole lot of affection for a couple of people that are on the other side of the world. And I think that in itself is pretty significant.